welcome to today's upload. My name is Stacey, I'm a mess in a dress, and today is a really ad hoc video. I really hadn't planned this one, but I just realised that I've recently been on a bit of a spending spree when it comes to physical books. I don't really normally buy a lot of physical books. I tend to read everything on my Kindle, on Kindle Unlimited, ebook. I'm all about it. So it's quite unusual for me to have a lot of physical books lying around, and as soon as I got a stack of them and thought, I need to do a video. So here we are. So there's no big preamble, there's no big explanation, that's the video, let's do it. So I feel like Santa. I've got a big bag of presents here. So the first two books I'm going to talk about, I actually didn't buy. These were from the library over the February half term. I thought it might be nice to take me and the girls down to the library. We don't get to do it all that often. And I thought it might just make a bit of a change, something to do. So we went and swapped all of our books. And I didn't see that much that I was interested in, but I did find a couple. So first up, I got this one, which is Law by Alexandra Bracken. I do not like the cover. If you know me, you will know why I do not like the cover. I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to read this book without touching the front cover. That's a problem for another day. So I've seen this one knocking about the internet, and it's always sounded quite fascinating. I love Greek mythology, and this book basically, I know very little about, but from the blurb, it says that it's in modern day New York, every 7 years, Zeus punishes the gods and makes them mortal. Forced to walk the earth, they are savagely hunted by the descendants of ancient bloodlines who are eager to kill a god and seize their divine power and immortality. After her family was brutally murdered by a rival line, Law Perseus fled, turning her back on the Aegon's cruel promises of eternal glory. For years, Law has honoured her parents' memory by doing one thing, surviving. For years, she's pushed away dark thoughts of revenge until now. So it's kind of like Greek gods, modern day. Just sounds really dramatic and interesting. I know absolutely nothing about it but I've had my eye on it for a while, saw it at the library and thought, hell, why not? Now, like, my library doesn't have a particularly great romance section. It has a romance section. Most of them are Mills and Boon, Harlequin, that kind of thing. So I don't usually find like what I would consider contemporary popular romance. If you go through the fiction stands, you can sometimes find a Julia Quinn. I actually saw Elisa Claypass the other day, I nearly died. But mostly it's Mills and Boon. However, I was raised on Mills and Boon. That's like where my romance reading started. So I'm not averse to a good Mills and Boon book now and again. And I saw this one, it's from Laura Martin, and it's called Her Best Friend, the Duke. And the reason I picked it up is because it reminded me of what they've basically changed the plot of season 3 of Bridgerton to. Because basically the heroine has been in love with her best friend for years, and finally realises he's never going to love her back, so she asks him to help her find a husband, and he is then going to help her like learn to flirt and learn to attract her husband, and in the meantime he's going to fall in love with her, obviously. And if I'm right, that is what I've read. They are changing the plot of season 3 of Bridgerton 2. So Penelope and Colin, that's kind of going to be their vibe. So it caught my attention and I thought, I'll give it a go. It is historical, obviously, and it is large print, which my library do quite a lot of large print. And I don't need large print, but I have to say, as I get older, I don't hate it. So we'll see how that goes. And actually, I had forgotten about this book. I had forgotten about this one. So I have heard a lot about this author, but I've never read anything by her before. This is Janna McGregor, historical again. And this is The Bad Luck Bride. I know nothing about this, but I saw the author name and thought, I'm sure I've heard that this author is worth a read. So here I am. What does it say? What does it say? What does it say? No one is left breathless at the imperious pronouncement of her engagement to Lord Pembroke more than Claire. She hardly knows the dangerously outrageous man, but after 3 engagements gone awry and a 4th going up in glorious flames, she isn't in a position to refuse. Alexander requires the hand of his enemy's fiancée in marriage in order to complete his plans for revenge. Oh, I love a revenge plot, I do. It's his good fortune that the cursed woman is desperate. However, what begins as a sham turns into something scandalously deeper. Yep, I'll have that one. Thank you very much. That sounds great. So, yep, forgot I'd pick this one up. Very excited to read it. So, moving on to books that I actually bought. Go, get away. First up, charity shop. Walking past it and just happened to see this one in the window. I have read this book before. It is a very, very popular romance book. It also has a film, which I did enjoy. So I thought when I saw this in a charity shop for £1, I thought, I'm having it. Thank you very much. This is The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. I feel like this is one of those books that some people love and some people hate. I also feel it's one of those books that people now, not everybody, but some people think it's cool to hate on because it's popular. Why do we do that? You see it across like all different genres of things, but if something gets too popular, it becomes cool to not like it. So it's like, oh well, am I the only person who doesn't like that? No, of course not, but also there's nothing wrong with liking it. It's not cool. So yeah, I feel like The Hating Game is one of those books. I've seen a lot of people dissing it, and when I read it I was like, I don't get what people's problem is. It's a perfectly reasonable rom-commy, enemies to lovers with secret agendas romance. I really enjoyed it. So like I said, it was £1 from my local charity shop, and I thought I wouldn't mind having that on my shelves for a reread one day. So here it is. Towards the end of this year, I finally finished reading A Court of Thorn and Roses, and I then went on to the next one, which is A Court of Mist and Fury. And I said I didn't not like them. I didn't kind of get as obsessed by them as some people are. Like, they're not my favourite thing I've ever read, but I did enjoy them, and I did, after the end of book 2, I did want to pick up book 3, so I did order this off of Amazon, I think, with my Christmas money. So we got A Court of Wings and Ruin. That is a chunky book. Look at the size of it. Look at the size of it. How many pages is it? 698 pages. That's not too bad. 600 pages is, you know, weighty, but 600 pages I can cope with. It's nearer 700. So yeah, so I really liked where book 2 ended. I really do want to find out what happens next. I am concerned about just how meaty this is. I think that's going to take me a while to get through. So then I went to The Works. Do you have The Works in America? I don't know. Is The Works just a British thing? I don't know. The Works is a budget bookshop, if you don't know. You can usually get books for £3 or £4 if they're on sale. And I have recently noticed on their social media, on TikTok, etc., they are doing a lot of these sort of popular contemporary romances, the TikTok books. They're all over The Works. And so I was like, going on this big shopping day with my kids, we spent far too much money, and I was like, I'm going to go into The Works and I'm going to treat myself to a few of these books that people keep talking about that I haven't read yet. First up, you may be surprised to hear that I believe I've only, to this point, read one Tessa Bailey book. I read Window Shopping over Christmas, and I think I possibly read one of her sort of like darker, more BDSM books, but all of her like contemporary ones, the ones with the cool covers, the ones that are all over TikTok, I haven't read any of them yet. And she has so many books, I didn't know where to start. But I decided to go with the ones that I'd seen probably the most. So it happened one summer, and look, £3. £3. Should be £9.99, £3. Probably less than I would pay for it on Kindle, I think, maybe. I'll have to check that out. It happened summer, and then Hook, Line and Sinker, which is the next book in the same series, also £3. Love it. Definitely want to read more of Tessa Bailey this year. That is a definite goal of mine, because I loved Window Shopping so much. It was so cute. Her banter and just the style of writing where it really just flows off the page and it's so easy to get into, and you can feel those characters start to come alive and they're talking to you through the book. I love it, so I'm looking forward to these a lot. Then we have a couple of complete unknowns. Like, literally, I have seen these titles on TikTok or Instagram or wherever, but I know basically nothing about the books at all. So first up we have Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. This cover is amazing. This cover is brilliant. I'm gonna take issue with this sticker later, but this cover is beautiful. I know nothing about this book, but the cover alone made me want to read it, and I have seen it a few times on different people's social medias. So we're gonna give it a go. We're gonna find out. We're going in blind, folks. This never happens. Then again, another one that I've only ever seen on TikTok. I know nothing about it. This is The Ex-Hex by Erin Sterling. This sounds like a really quirky premise. So basically, heroine puts a hex on her ex, hence the title, because she is upset with him because he's broken her heart. And then years later, it turns out that this curse is going very badly and is like affecting the town and putting people at danger. So she's now got to try and break it with the hex. I'm assuming that this is a second chance kind of romance. I'm assuming it is kind of paranormal. That is all I know. I don't even know if it's any good. I haven't necessarily seen people raving about it, but I wanted to try it. So here we are. Next up, the penultimate book that I bought. I think I spent about £30 on books in The Works, which I think actually is really, really good. But anyway, this is Final Offer by Lauren Asher. This is the last book in the Dreamland Billionaire series. I do have the other two upstairs, and I do really, really like them. I like the setting of book 1 better because I love the whole sort of like Disney-esque park that set up. That was so cool. But the second book, I think actually the characters and the romance I actually preferred. So that's where I am at the moment. I'm interested to see where I feel with this one. Again, it's sizable. It's not a small book. 576. It's another chunky one. Oh, it's got like those like animated chapter pages, which are quite cute. Anyway, yes. So I now have all three of these, the fine print, terms and conditions, and final offer. I have them all actually in physical copy, which it's been a long time since I've brought a series in physical copy. And yes, this one was £6. This one was more expensive, I think because it's basically new and it's just out. But this was one that I went in for. This was one I intended to buy. The rest were accidents. I'm looking forward to that one. And last but not least, I checked out the Goodreads Choice Awards romance finalists, as did everybody else, and I was surprised that I actually hadn't read over half of them, and some of the authors I'd never heard of, including the author who eventually went on to win. I had never heard of Emily Henry. I'd never read anything by Emily Henry. So when I saw this one, Book Lovers, for £5, down from £8.99 in the works, I was like, I'm gonna have to give it a go, aren't I? I'm gonna have to try it. Because I feel like if this is the best romance book of the year, as chosen by the Goodreads Choice Awards, I should at least know what it's like. So, ooh, was it only £4? Did I get it cheaper? Nice. Anyway, off tangent. So the quotes from people who are like recommending it is Taylor Jenkins Reid, never read. Colleen Hoover, which worries me. Beth Leary, which worries me because I think of her more sort of like woman's fiction than I do romance. Casey McQuiston, who I've never read anything by her, but I know of her, and Ellie Hazelwood, who Love Hypothesis was one of my favourite books of last year. So it's making me think, is this more like women's fiction than romance? But it won the Goodreads Romance Awards, so hopefully this is going to be pretty good romance. I am interested to find out what it's like. I think I'm going to do a reading vlog of this one just to get my actual sort of like first reactions to it. If I remember, that's my plan. But yes, this was the last book that I got. So I think that's it. That's all of the physical books I have purchased recently, or borrowed from the library technically. All of the books that I've got my hands on recently. And I'm really excited to get stuck in. It's been a really long time since I've sat and read a physical book. I am very much an ebook reader, and it's great to have all these options and so many exciting ones, so many titles that I've seen bounced around on the internet that I now am finally going to get to find out what all the fuss is about and get to figure out which side I'm on. Am I on like the side that likes them or the side that doesn't? I can't wait to find out. I mean, obviously I've spent all that money, I'm hoping I like them. So this is my haul. This is all of them put together. I have no idea where they're going on my shelves. I do not have room for any of these, so that's a problem for another day. But in the meantime, I'm going to say goodbye. Thank you very much if you stuck around. Please let me know if there's any other books that I need to be rushing out to buy. And have you read any of these books? Which one should I start with? And I'll see you soon with another video. Thanks very much. Bye.